Good morning and welcome to breakfast at Gulfstream Park. Beautiful, beautiful morning here. We're going to have temperatures in the mid-80s. Now you see the lake just still as can be. The flags, the wind coming from off the ocean, so it's supposed to be in the low 80s. Fast main track, firm turf course, Acacia. This looks like a perfect day for this fantastic card.
Absolutely. You can get a little glimpse of the ocean right there between the buildings. We really are in the perfect location and happy to be here with you for the day of the Fasig-Tipton Fountain of Youth. 14 races on the card, Ron.
Yeah, 14 races on the card. We got to get right to it, but a couple of things we have to take care of. First of all, we did say hello, so now we're going to talk about the Beat the Expert results, and they didn't get me again. No winners this week again. I only had 5. I thought somebody would be up there and get me, but Beat 5 was good enough, and don't forget, next week, Acacia will be up, so it's a fun, just keep playing along.
Yes, it is indeed. I hope that you join in next Friday. Always free to play. We appreciate everybody that participates each and every week, and well done, Ronnie.
Yep, we'll see if we can do it again. You'll do it again next week, and with that said, the old Stronach 5 yesterday, I'm sure it paid a lot of money.
Yes, it did. About $1,100 for that $1 minimum, that low 12% takeout. A couple of logical horses in the sequence. You had some big prices here at Gulfstream and at Golden Gate Fields, but as always, you can see it's Overlay City.
Yeah, really, $1,100. I mean, you got 2 horses, 113, 115. So we'll see how that goes, and we're going to go right to the first race. No, you know, early pick 5 ticket. I heard we do not have.
No, we'll show it this afternoon, but we'll go right into this first race, Ron, as this one does kick off that early pick 5, and it's not an easy way to kick things off, as you do have maidens. Anything can happen, but the flatter filly Past the Champagne to the outside is currently the favorite as she makes her first start for George Weaver.
Yeah, she's wheeling back. She sort of had an eventful career debut at the distance. She was away slowly. She got steadied at the 5/8 pole in that race and still managed to finish that okay second. For the connections, as you mentioned, George Weaver takes over the training today, and he's got Johnny Velasquez handling the outside draw this afternoon. So if you like Champagne, you either go with the 10 or the horse you put on top, and that's a Champagne Salute.
Yeah, and the Past the Champagne off a private purchase, and best of luck to them. And you got Champagne Salute. I just got engaged, so hey, Past the Champagne, I'm all for it. And I guess that's my hunch play exacta, but Champagne Salute has been training really well, and that's kind of what pushed this one over the edge for me. I think Past the Champagne is the one to beat, but you're going to get a price on a Todd Pletcher firster here. As I watched the recent workouts on XBTV of this filly who was training in company with the 2 Seabach, and Champagne Salute was far outworking her. She was really, really moving well in the mornings. I liked the pedigree for Sprint by Run Happy out of a mare who was a multiple stakes place and very good dirt sprint winner, as they will have to go 7 furlongs.
Let's add to that with a stat I found with Todd with his 3-year-old first-time starters. Now, these are fillies, maiden special weight on the dirt right here at Gulfstream, so it's really zeroed in. He's 11 for 40, 28%, 63% in the money, 138 is the return of investment. So, and it's Todd. It's very simple, you know, and those look like the logical 2. Champagne for all in race number 1. Second race this afternoon on the dirt, 1 mile allowance optional claimer, 4 and up. The optional claiming price $25,000. Scratch the number 6, and just one of a million fantastic races on the card this afternoon. One time you don't have to say, oh, you got to say this. It's not a good card. It's a fantastic card. I went with Nocturnal. So did you?
I did, and when looking at the pick 5 sequence, I actually ended up singling Nocturnal. I think that this is just a really good place for this call too. Finished second in his debut to Dr. Post, who would go on to be second in the Belmont Stakes and a stakes winner after that. Came back off a layoff. Todd Pletcher is just so good with getting horses ready to roll off the bench, and you saw that with Nocturnal last time. I think he's perhaps the main speed in here as well, so I think that he really could be in a great place, though of course the waters are deeper today.
Yeah, John Velasquez, and lightly raced son of Palace Malice, I think, is going to run well. Number 2, Bo Lamaneri, is cutting back today to the mile on the dirt after returning from the layoff. Finished that, I thought, a game second, against this level of competition. That was going a mile in his 16th on the turf. But if you look back at this horse's past performances, this horse has run well on the dirt in the past.
And behind some really nice horses, too. I mean, his last dirt race, which was back in July at Saratoga, he was second to Happy Saver, who would go on to win the Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup.
I watched Kid Bourbon run last time, and I think he's going to have the screws tightened this afternoon from Mark Hennigan. A horse that, when you're handicapping, just go back and take a second look. I thought maybe this horse had a chance I thought he finished a needed third in that race, so Tyler Gaffleone in the saddle.
And I used Union, who also comes out of that same race, who had some traffic trouble in there as well. I think that could be an interesting race to watch moving forward.
Well, our first stakes race of the afternoon is going to be in race number 3, mile in the 16th. Fillies 3-year-olds, $100,000. It's the Here Comes the Bride Stakes. We're going to have you ready for this in about a year or so after being engaged. Grade 3 event. Clean slate, no scratches, jockey changes. And I'm enamored with a horse in here. As you know, we talked about this a little yesterday with Toby's Heart.
Yeah, this one, she was so good as a 2-year-old. And we'll backtrack to Saratoga. In just her second career start after a monstrous debut performance at Churchill, she came back and won the Bolton Landing at 1-2 as well. But what I know love about this race is she beat 4 next out stakes winners in here as well.
Yeah, not just a key race. Yeah. I call this one a monster key race because the 4 horses that did come out and win were stakes winners. And of course, as you said, this is Saratoga, so it's a while back. We haven't seen this horse. I'm just waiting to see this one run. So I felt I had to put this one on the top ticket. But there's some really, Spanish Love Affair is just a fantastic racehorse.
Yes, she is. And I'm excited to see Toby's Heart back. I really liked her as a 2-year-old. And I spoke to Brian Lynch the other day, and he said he's looking forward to getting her going 2 turns in preparation for Keeneland. So I think that this may be kind of a stepping stone race for her, but he thought that she was a bigger, stronger filly this year. So I'm excited to see her back. However, we saw some really nice performances from Spanish Love Affair. She started down here in Florida, which is fun too, back in July, won the Sharp Suze, and then went on to be second in the Jessamine behind Aunt Pearl. So obviously she was keeping some good company.
Never been beat on the Gulfstream Park turf course. She's a perfect 2 for 2. As you mentioned, she was in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. What about the hard knock in number 3, Con Lima, who's stretching out to 8.5 furlongs today after her 2-race win streak ended when she followed a victory in the mile Ginger Brew with that set the pace second. That was in the grade 3 Swedish Chance. She has really done nothing wrong for Todd Pletcher. Been right there at the wire.
No, she's an interesting one. I think the most interesting conversation about this race will be how does the pace set up. Is she got loose on the lead, 2 back to win the Ginger Brew. Last time in the Swedish Chant, White Frost came and ran her down. With the presence of mail order in here, that's why I was thinking it really could set up nicely for a filly like Spanish Love Affair to sit a good trip.
It's interesting to see what they're going to do with Toby's Heart. After coming out of those sprints, is this one just naturally going to go to the lead this afternoon? You don't know that, so we'll see how that race plays out. Just one of the great stakes races on the card. So let's keep that going with race number 4. 1 mile and 3/8, 11 furlongs on the turf, 4-year-olds and up with $200,000. It's the Grade 2 Diarmida, and a pretty interesting race here. I went a different. Well, we both went with admission office. I didn't think you were going to put this one on top.
I love this horse. I have been waiting to get a chance to see him go 3 turns again. Who knew that would be what you were saying? But he won a 1.5 miles in the Louisville at a layoff, and also again spoke to Brian Lynch, and you'll hear from him later. But he said he's a tough horse to train, and they have to use races to get him fit off the bench. So I thought that was really interesting in that he went a mile, which was obviously way too short for him in the tropical turf. Then last time in the Tampa Bay, going 1 mile and 16th, he had trouble. He was flying late to be 3rd. So I think now he's going to be back at his preferred distance.
Yeah, if you go back to last year in the Pegasus, he was second to Classy Zula Alpha in this race last year in the Diarmida. So that certainly classes him up nicely. But we got a couple other horses in here, especially we have some interest in Tide of the Sea, the number 3 horse in here. I think you have a replay you want to show back with a Temple too.
That's right. Both of these Mike Maker runners coming out of the McKnight, which was going 1.5 miles on the Pegasus World Cup undercard. And Mike Maker running 1-2 in here. And what a performance from Tide of the Sea, who set the pace, and he held on really gamely, and he pulled back away to win once again. Temple seems to be one of those horses that just always grabs a share of it, so I had to put him finishing in the money. But I think really give a hat off to to Tide of the Sea, who's in great form right now. He had was really hard to handle in the Fort Lauderdale, and it seems like Tyler Gaffleone suits him well.
Yeah, he had that trouble trip, as you mentioned, in the Fort Lauderdale for Mike. Well, I have some interest in a horse you have in fourth. I have in third, and that's Aquaphobia, who drops into a competitive spot after finishing, I thought, an ambitious eighth in the Grade 1 Pegasus Turf. Mike Maker, Jose Ortiz at top. Just a hard-knocking 8-year-old. Always seems to be around. And I just thought they were, maybe tilting windmills a little bit last time out. So we'll see how this horse runs this afternoon.
And you go 3 turns on the turf, so you have 3 Mike Maker horses in the race, and that's no surprise there. And I think all of them in with a chance.
Well, race 5, we're back on the main track, and it's a maiden special weight for 3-year-olds. And we don't make it easy here. I think this is where the middle pick 4 starts. We have to do some research on that.
I don't know.
We'll check it out.
It starts here when there's 12 races. So there's 14. I don't know. We'll find out.
We'll find it out. We have to do some work on that. Race
It starts
7.
at race 7.
All right. Fantastic. So we'll let you know about that because it's so popular. You started it off with, hey, Benny from the Bronx.
Yeah, I love this name. It's great. But it's got a huge pedigree, this horse, too. This is a Tappet colt who's half to a good turf horse named Hanaki Moon, but most importantly is half to Grade 1 winner Charlatan, who just ran second in the Saudi Cup and has banked over $3.7 million now at this point.
Let's show you a stat on Mr. Chad Brown with his 3-year-old, first-time starters, maiden special weights on the dirt right here at Gulfstream Park. He's 12 for 45, 27%, 60% in the money, and a positive return of investment of $2.02. So Benny from the Bronx on my ticket, but I did go with Collaborate, who's stretching out to the mile after recovering from a bit of a slow start to finish that late closing 5th. That was in its 6th furlong debut in the slop. Sappy's pretty good. Maidens making their second start. I just thought this horse ran nicely for all the things it had to deal with the slow start and the sloppy conditions. So put this one on top of my ticket. And we both had interest in the 3 Full Court Press.
Well, I thought both of these second-time starters had a chance to improve. I really liked the pedigree on Benny from the Bronx, and I found that Chad Brown's dirt firsters here seemed to be pretty well met. So I landed on that one, but Collaborate, my notes from his debut were that he wanted to go longer, so we get that today. And that's the same feeling with Full Court Press, who I really felt was going to improve after a race, more so with him just mentally, a little bit kind of green with the pony on the track, and so he's getting a chance to now come back after his debut race where he was beaten by Prevalence, who did win that race by over 8 lengths.
Yeah, Belmont is the trainer, and he's got his go-to Jock Jr. Alvarado in the saddle. Let's keep the stakes action going in race number 6. This is a lot of fun this afternoon. 1 mile and 1/16 on the turf, 3-year-olds, $100,000. It is the Palm Beach, and I went with the number 3. I'll start it off with Scarlet Sky, who's trying to make it 2 in a row after responding to the addition of Lasix. I thought an impressive 75 optional claiming victory at the distance for Shug McGahee and Jose Ortiz atop the Son of Sky Mesa. Jose Ortiz starting to win races and buncers. Just like this performance last time out.
It seems like the Jose Ortiz Shug McGahee team has just been very impressive and winning a lot. Of course, they'll team up later with Greatest Honor. But this one, it took a little while to break his maiden. It seemed like his second start was a race that he kind of almost should have won. He ran very well and I think was beaten by a nice horse. But the fact that he was able to get another win last time out, I think it means he's one of those horses that's moving in the right direction for Shug McGahee. I just loved the debut from the 2 Annex, who clearly was still very green and figuring things out as he was a little erratic in the stretch, but he just was so powerful in that closing kick, and he was one that I had really, really liked first time out. Had a couple of good works up at Payson Park since that last start.
Well, let's show a stat on Bill Mott with a winner last out in route races on the turf. He's 15 for 77, 19%, 40% in the money. Nice return of investment of $2.76. Keisha, I had some interest in this race in the number 6, and that is Fighting Force, who's back locally after following yet that second place finish here in the Dania Beach. He goes up, he duels for the lead, he finishes 4th, and that's in the Texas Turf Mile up at Sam Houston for Todd Pletcher. John Velasquez stretch out to the mile in the 16th. I think they think this horse might be okay shipping him to Texas. I think maybe he can grab a share in there. Of course, it's not any great shakes. It's Todd Pletcher and John Velasquez.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess my biggest question is that he ran on the 31st at the Texas Turf Mile, which I know Chess's Dream was cross-entered in. why didn't they just keep him home and run him in the Kitten's Joy like Chess's Dream did and stay here? I guess that's my biggest question, if they felt that might be an easier spot, or what the thought process was to run there instead. But Chess's Dream, the 8, did stay home. I was really impressed with how physically he had taken a big step forward last time, came up the rail to win the Kitten's Joy, and I think he's got some nice horses to face today, but he does have the benefit of being a graded stakes winner in the field.
Yeah, and I kept going to make him third. I kept going back and forth. We'll see. It's a really nice and competitive field.
Yeah.
We're going back to the main track for race number 7. A mile allowance, optional claim of 4 and up. They could run for the optional tag of $62,500. Not a lot of scratches on this card, so you'll be dealing here in the ever-popular middle pick 4 with a full field of 11 horses in here. And I went with the number 5. I'll kick it off here again. West Will Power, who's trained sharply after putting his 2-race win streak on the line when he finished second going a mile. Now was back here on day 1 or day 2 of the meeting. Kelly Breen, Javier Castellano in the saddle. Thought maybe I'd get a little bit of a price on there. I don't know what price he is on the board. I think he's third choice in the morning line.
Yeah, I think this is a very tough race. I had a really hard time with it, to be honest. I ended up landing on the number 9, Untitled, who I know won going 3/4 of a mile last time out, but to me that had been just kind of a, okay, this is a stepping stone type of race for him. I think he'll appreciate stretching out again, but he looked like a completely different horse to me versus his 3-year-old season and then coming back here as a 4-year-old. And I think he actually beat a pretty nice field. Arham had been a short price in there for Todd Pletcher, and Untitled just made really short work of him. So I think that he's one who's kind of back on track in here. Obviously a horse that they always had high hopes for.
We both have the number 2, Superfecto, in second, who's stepping up to competition, returned from Belmont to crush a field of 25 optional claimers, won that race by almost 6 lengths. Talking about barns that started to heat up, Ralph Nix, and he's got, most of the time, his go-to rider, MSC El Jaramillo, going for 2 in a row. I think Superfecto with the barn, you never know we're going to heat up and maybe win this one here. So you're absolutely right. Pretty wide open race.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention quickly the 7, Mubarmaj, who we haven't seen since November of 2019. He's making his first start for Todd Pletcher. He was pretty well touted, and I think it's funny how everything kind of comes full circle, as he had a couple of impressive wins at Belmont, ran in the Grade 3 Discovery behind Performer at the time. We haven't seen him since, so curious of what he's going to do.
Yeah, so a wide open 7th race today. Race number 8, 1 mile and 1/16 on the turf, 4-year-olds and up, $125,000. It's the Grade 3 Canadian turf, and I just hope real soon we can get our friends from Canada down here to join us at Gulfstream Park. Things are getting better, but not quite yet, but we'll represent them with this fantastic race. Hey, we both have Venezuelan Hug on top of our ticket.
Yeah, I know that this is actually your best bet of the day. It says, Sal Spadali was joking with me and said, well, Ron has him as his best bet. We didn't want to see that. So we hope that Venezuelan Hug can carry the weight of all of us for them. But this one was very impressive. I thought closing to win the Sunshine Turf, and Connection saying he loves it here at Gulfstream. Doesn't really seem to handle the Belmont main track so much. Think about how well he ran at Saratoga, and then here at Gulfstream, kind of a tighter track seems to suit him well.
Yeah, going to make it 3 and try, make it 3 in a row at the distance victories, as you mentioned in the Sunshine Preview. That was a cross down at Gulfstream Park West, and the Sunshine Turf here last time out for Danny Gargan. He's good winning consecutive races, 27%. He was. I think that he is on the line, maybe 3rd or 4th choice in there. I don't think that'll be the case. We both, well, I did. I used Winters back in second. He's making his stakes debut after following back-to-back turf victories up at Aqueduct with a 2nd place finish. Going a mile against a solid group of optional claimers, including a horse that you have in second, Olympic Runner.
Yeah, and the biggest reason I like Olympic Runner is that he got the win last time out, but he had been running against some nice horses. He was second by half a length behind Social Paranoia 2 starts back, who obviously is a multiple graded stakes winner, 4th, I believe, in the Pegasus World Cup Turf for Todd Pletcher. So this horse had been keeping some really good company. I think they got him back on track last time.
Yeah, I think when the smoke clears, he's the one to beat. Just so on the class in the race. So that's how we see it. Once again, another fantastic race. In race number 9 this afternoon, 1 mile, 4-year-olds and up, $200,000. It's the WinStar Gulfstream Mile, a grade 2 event. Scratch the 2 tacks and scratch the 8. Oh, wait, we're going to take a break. Yeah, I'm so confused with all these races. We'll take the break, we'll catch our breath, and come back with my Rainbow Six ticket. I forgot when we have a Rainbow Six.
And they're off. Second in the 2-path. Ground ball first inside. Race. And a quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 on top. Last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
Welcome back to Gulfstream today. Ron and Acacia. I'm sorry about that. Didn't have any idea when the Rainbow Six started. I did put a ticket together. This 9th race, as I mentioned, 1 mile 4 and up. $200,000. The WinStar Gulfstream Mile Grade 2 scratch the 2 tacks. I know a lot of people had some interest in that horse, not going to compete, and also scratch the number 8 horse in that race. And now my Rainbow Six ticket, and because of the big day, I stepped it up to $64.80. Couldn't find that one single. Now, a lot of people are going to be singling, you know, in race number 2. You can make a great, race number 11, you can make a great case for the 2 Got Stormy. Of course, Vequist in race number 12. I wanted some coverage in both those races. And my long shot today comes in race number 13, War Like Goddess for Bill Mott. I think 12-1 on the morning line, if I remember correctly. And then, of course, once again, this could be a really, really easy one if you love Greatest Honor, but Fire at Will got a big chance. I think he's got a chance today. And Drain the Clock, inside speed, I just couldn't get beat by him. So 64.80 for me.
I like it. Race sequences of 6 races, and 5 of them are stakes. So you have a lot to choose from in here, and the only non-stake is the 10th, which is a competitive turf allowance. So you can't ask for anything better.
No, and you know, Keisha, we've been talking throughout the week, and I fell in love with a certain horse watching this horse school this week.
It's Ronnie's horse crush.
Yeah, it's my horse crush, and it's on the 4 Performer. He just, every time I saw him, I just kept saying, look at that horse. Look at that horse. So I have him on top, but I know he had it tough against old Eye of the Jedi last time
He
out.
did. I mean, as we backtrack to the Fred Hooper, Eye of the Jedi gave him just about everything he could handle. Hats off to that horse, too. But Performer, I think, is one of those. He's a perfect example of that kind of later developing Shug McGahee runner. He had been highly touted, won the Discovery, came back with that very impressive allowance win, found a sloppy track in the Cigar Mile. And I think last time was really a big test as to where does this horse stand. He's a very big, solid horse, too, and might take him a couple of races to really get 100% fit. But you got a chance to see him school the other day. He's a beautiful horse. Eye of a Jedi, a very game performance to finish second there.
Yeah, Eye of a Jedi, just you know, just an overachieving 6-year-old. He never really runs a bad race, and he gave Performer all he could handle last time out. So a horse I have on ticket, but I split him with another old buddy of mine in here, and that's Avant Garde, who was solid in defeat with a 5-time winner, rallied to finish third behind Performer and Eye of the Jedi. So that's my try, but boy, I'm rooting for Performer.
Yeah, I like him too. I put Fearless in second, as this horse had been keeping some good company last round behind Tom Say Tom by my standards in the Stephen Foster back in June. I think kind of going back to the drawing board with him, and Todd Fletcher said expects him to kind of be up in the game a little bit more. We see those sharp workouts up at Palm Beach Downs.
Let's go to race number 10 this afternoon, 1 mile and 1/16. It's a turf allowance optional claimer 4 and up. The optional claiming price of $62,500. Full field of 11 runners, and I hear that this is where the late pick 5 kicks off.
That's right. That's what they tell me. I've got a long shot in here that I like a bit, Ron. I am using the number 9 Street Ready off the layoff for Ian Wilkes, hoping to get a bit of a price on that one. And because I wanted some coverage throughout the sequence, I am just going to pull the plug and single Vequist. I know that she's in off of a layoff, but she was one that I just really fell in love with last year when she broke her maiden in the Grade 1 spin away. She's always showed up so well, and then I'm too deep in the very one, we'll put it that way, and I wanted to spread in the Fountain of Youth today. I think Greatest Honor is the one to beat. I did pick him, but I wanted some coverage. I think it's a very tough race. I did not use Fire at Will, which broke my heart a bit. I could have spread and used him too. I think it's a really, really interesting field.
Yeah, and I can understand 100%. I feel the same way about Vequist. Just when I was putting my ticket together, just wanted to have that little extra bit of courage. I'm glad you used the number 9 in here, Street Ready. He's one of the horses I do have on my ticket, but not on top. I went with the 2 Opry, who's stretching out to the mile in the 16th after returning from about a 9-month layoff. He finished 4th behind who? Classy Olympic runner, who we're going to see just a couple of races before, and that was in that 62,500 optional claimer going a mile last time out. It's Pletcher. It's Irad. I think this horse is going to run well.
I agree. I think that he's a talented runner, and I think it's going to be solid today. Now, second off the layoff. He hadn't raced since April before that last start in January, too. He's probably the one to beat. I did not see a lot of speed in this race, so I think it really could suit Bodie Cream very, very well, and I almost put him right on top, but then I said, you know, I kept going back to Street Ready. He's pretty tactical. He doesn't have to be too far off of it. He'll kind of be in that stalking spot. He's not a deep closer like some of the others in this field, which I think is to his benefit because there's not a ton of speed here. And he hasn't raced since July, but that last start was finishing second by a nose in the Grade 3 Transylvania.
Yeah, that was a good race for Ian Wilkes. I agree with you. You got Miguel Vasquez in the saddle, Bodie Crema, as you mentioned, Mike Maker, Jose Ortiz atop this Grade 2 stakes place 4-year-old. He could be the sneaky in that race. I don't know what odds he is. He's out with second choice, so he's not that much of a sneaky. Let's go to race number 11. 1 mile on the turf. Fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up, $125,000. It is the Grade 3, the Honey Fox. Scratch the number 3 horse in here. And boy, just got stormy. It's, just comes up with a great resume, an 8-time winner at the distance, stretches out after breaking from a tough post. He finished 5th. That was against the boys in that race in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup turf sprint. Just this horse is very versatile to me.
Yeah, she really is. And how cool is it? We get to see her race again in 2021 as she was sold at the Night of the Stars sale after the Breeders' Cup for $2.75 million. And we have some workouts of her training up at Palmetto's, which will show courtesy of our friends at XBTV. And one thing I read in a quote from Mark Casse was that when he brought her back in 2020, he had gotten her fit working her on the dirt. And he said she just loves going over the turf up at Palmetto's. Such a benefit of training there. So you see all those turf workouts on the bottom up at Palmetto's, and that's where she's really been training and looking very good doing it.
Yeah, she looks fantastic, and I just thought she classes up perfectly. And I always like I have an affinity for horses that sprint and can also win going long, so put God Stormy on there. But you did go with the number 4 in here, which I did not use on my ticket. This I want to hear, pray tell.
I did, pray tell. I did. I went with the number 4, Richetta, who hasn't raced since the Saratoga Oaks as a 3-year-old for Bill Mott. She came over here to the U.S. For this Juddmonte homebred. She's got a huge pedigree. Of course, she's by Camelot, out of a mare who's the sister to Kingman, who's been an international sire success. So big pedigree for her. She'd had a little bit of trouble in Europe out of the gate, and that was something I'd spoken to Bill about before that Saratoga race, and he said he hadn't really had her for that long. They hadn't had a chance to really work her out of the gate or train her much doing anything really with her, but she had class. She's been off a layoff, but I feel like this is a really interesting place to see her back. I liked her this summer. I'm excited to see what she has today.
Good. She's like 3rd choice, so 5-1, so you'll get a nice price. Now, we both used the number 6 horse on our ticket. I think it's Zofele, if I remember, and it's the Irish bred. Going to try and make it 2 in a row after Duran clears the favorite. Now, this one won the Grade 3 Marshall's River here last time out for Brendan Walsh. I got Irad to ride today. Of course, Tyler's going to stick with Got Stormy, who he rides all the time. time. But I think this horse has a major chance today.
No, I agree. Sofel was very good last time off of a roughly 7-month layoff, too, to win the Grade 3 Marshall was River. There are some classy mares in this race.
Yeah, along with Feel Glorious, who's the British bred, is making her local return. First start since rallying to win. She won the Forever Together up at Aqueduct. Christophe Clement, Junior Alvarado going for 2 in a row. You could just go down the line and talk about a horse's graded stakes winner in this race. So the Honey Fox, and maybe they'll change that 3 to a 2 next year.
Yeah, this is a good one.
That's a good one there. Let's go to race number 12. 1 mile, fillies, 3-year-olds. $200,000. Of course, this is the Davona Dale. Scratch the 2, scratch the number 9 horse in here. And here's your single. Take it away.
Well, Vequis, the champion 2-year-old filly of last year. So excited to see her making her 2021 debut here at Gulfstream in the Davona Dale. I got a chance to go up to Paul Meadows and speak to her trainer, Butch Reed, and the ride that she's taken him on will show her last win, which coincidentally was in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. And I love, if you haven't had a chance to watch the jockey cam for this race, it's awesome to see. There's not that much room on the rail, and she's a pretty big filly, and she just kind of sneaks up the inside there, and she finishes up so nicely. She's really been excellent in her 4-race campaign, and looking forward to seeing her kick off the year here.
Yeah, we saw the horse she beat in a day out of the office start her campaign right here in South Florida. So she was a big root for everybody up there. And she beat her once, but Vequis came back, as you just saw. It was just so game. Can't wait to see her run this afternoon. And like I said, a lot of people are going to look at the Rainbow 6 as a Rainbow 5 today with it. And I can understand that. But I used on my ticket the number 5, Millefiore, I think it is.
Millefoy.
Millefoy?
It's a type of pastry.
Oh, Millefoy.
I know this because I looked it up before her start, and I have watched enough episodes of the Great British Baking Show to know.
Does it have whipped cream on it?
Yeah, I think it can. Yeah, yeah. It's like a flaky Napoleon type of pastry.
Well, we'll call it number 5, the dessert. Is making her first start since following her maiden victory at the distance with that second place finish. That was in the 9-furlong Grade 2 Demoiselle in the slop up at Aqueduct. Billy Mott, John Velasquez atop this daughter of Curlin. She looks like she can be a good one.
I very much agree. I think she and Vequis will both want longer than a mile down the road, but both of them are starting off their 2021 campaigns here, so it's kind of an interesting comparison as they get a chance to use this as a stepping stone for some later races down the road. But second behind Malathot, who's beautifully bred for Todd Pletcher in the Demoiselle, she obviously has some class as well.
Every day when we do this show together, I find a horse throughout the card that reminds me of you. And it is the number 6 horse in here, Crazy Beautiful,
Aww.
who was second to, well, the crazy part is for sure.
That's true.
Who was second to Classy, Simply Ravishing. That's a nice horse, Simply Ravishing.
Very.
In the Grade 1 Alcibiades, cuts back to the mile after failing to fire behind who? Vequis, that was in the Juvenile Fillies. This one could bounce back and maybe grab a share today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She's getting ready to kick off her 2021 campaign here, and she absolutely is a beautiful gray filly. Looking forward to seeing her again.
Well, we continue with stakes races. We're not even done, close to being done yet. We still got the big one in race 14, but this is not a bad one, too. A 1 mile, 3/16 now. Mark that down on the turf. Fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up, $125,000. It is the very one. We have a lot of fun with that. Scratch the 8 and scratch the 11. I got my long shot in here, and it's the number 9 horse today. And what is it on the line? I forgot. 10-1 on the line. It's making her stakes debut at this mile in a 3/16 distance after going undefeated in the 2 races at Churchill, which includes the victory in an 11-furlong allowance. So it makes me think that this horse likes to go long for Bill Mott. Julian Leperoux atop this daughter of English Channel. I don't think this one's going to be on the lead, but I think I could sit a nice trip in there. Trying to get a little bit of a price at 10-1.
Yeah, she's by English Channel. She absolutely should handle the distance without any problem. I had some interest in the 6 California Queen, the German-bred filly. She's by Lope de Vega, who obviously Chad Brown has had a lot of success with this stallion. You think of the likes of Newspaper of Record. She's a Group 2 winner in Germany. Her last couple of races in France, she faced raced last time out in Group 1 company, Wonderful Tonight, who would go on to win the Group 1 Philly turf race on British Champions Day, one of the most elite races you can win. So she faced really good company, and she was purchased at the Arcana Horses of Racing Age sale for over $300,000, the equivalent to U.S. Dollars. So I had some real interest in her. I think she's kind of a well-meant wild card coming in here.
Yeah, and she's she's actually the morning line favorite. No, yeah.
Is she?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
so.
wow.
Yeah. I couldn't believe I had to look down, but very tepid morning line favorite in there, I believe, at 4-1.
Pete and I obviously saw the same thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
she is.
I used the number 10 Sister Hanan, who's turning back after following her allowance optional claiming score, going a mile with that fourth place finish in the 12 furlong Grade 3 La Previante Stakes. So I just thought this horse might be able to grab a share in here at a bit of a price.
Yeah, I thought that this was a very interesting race. I used the 3 Antoinette, who wired the field to win the Saratoga Oaks, going a mile and 3/16. She didn't show her speed last time from an outside post in the Valley View. I think her speed is her best weapon.
And we got Chad, who's got Bacchanalio, who's making her stakes debut for him after returning from the layoff score here, going a mile in the 16th. Previous winner at a mile in 3/16. It's hard to find that on horses' past performances. And Ira had going for 2 in a row. It's Chad, and we got her down the 3rd or 4th. That just goes to show you how incredibly tough
It's
these
a good
races
race.
Here's the big one. Race 14, 1 mile and 1/16, 3-year-olds, $300,000 guaranteed. It is the Phasic-Tipton Fountain of Youth Grade 2 event. Clean slate, 10 runners in the field. Of course, the one that everyone's going to be looking at as far as this part of the season goes thus far is the number 8 Greatest Honor.
And we'll go back to watch his Holy Bull win. And we did see the horse that beat him in that maiden race at Aqueduct, going a mile and an eighth. Known Agenda came back and won an allowance very impressively yesterday for Todd Pletcher. Greatest Honor won a maiden race, 2 back. Here's his win in the Holy Bull. Watch the number 5, though, too. That's Tarantino, who was part of that early pace with the sprinter stretching out. He was very game and impressive in that race to hold on for 2nd. 3rd in there was a Prime Factor, who also will try the mile and a 16th again, but it was all about Greatest Honor.
Yeah, Tarantino finished 2nd. They were undecided whether they want to run this horse on the turf, on the dirt, and when he ran that good, he did run exceptionally well. And I can understand you using a lot of horses in your late pick 5 because there's so many intriguing horses underneath this one. Well, of course, we'll talk about but you and I have an affinity for because we bet him in the Breeders' Cup. Is Fire Will. Now, his only chance before was that sloppy track up in the with anticipation. I think 4 horses in the field, but he was just so good. And I understand Mike Macon wanted to take a chance with and Kendrick Camooch down to ride for him today. I got to put this horse somewhere on my ticket.
Yeah, happy we'll get to see Kendrick in town today. That'll be fun as he rode this horse to win the Pilgrim 2 starts back against a nice field for sure. Step Dancer came back to win a stake at Belmont after that as well. The with anticipation was off the turf, and it was just 4 horses. But he did win on the dirt. And while Declaration of Wars have generally, I think, been more turf, this one, I think the offspring of Declaration of War can actually run on pretty much anything, which is kind of exciting to see what he may offer today. I just was enamored by the performance of Tarantino. And while, to be honest, I have always had my questions about Drain the Clock. I still am not sold about him going the 2 turns, but he's the main speed. And while I don't know if he will excel going a distance, I think he can handle it, if that makes sense, and did not want to get beat by him in here.
Yeah, he's sort of like the wise guy pick, but just because he had that, devastating speed in the 7 furlong Grade 3 swale, he's the inside gas. Edgar Zayas handling the added distance today. He's got to see if he can handle that mile in the 16th. And we'd be remiss if we didn't remind you now, don't forget when you run a mile in the 16th here, they use the first finish line, so it's a short stretch, and you sort of got to get that position early on. So that's another check mark for Drain the Clock.
Yeah, having that speed is definitely a benefit. And he's obviously a horse that loves this racetrack here.
That's how we see the 14 races this afternoon. But we have our lightning round to get to, and we have enough time to do it.
Yeah, we'll do it quickly. Just a few points in here because we have a lot coming up. But one thing we wanted to mention, some good news for horsemen, and a big thank you to the horsemen for supporting the racetrack. A big thank you to all of the fans and bettors for continuing to support golf Gulfstream Park throughout this really tough past year. Some good news here starting March 3rd. The purses will be raised by 10%.
Gotta like that. So 10%, and if we keep betting like this, maybe it'll be 15 soon after this. So thanks to everybody involved.
Absolutely. As we have yesterday, we saw a big performance, as mentioned. Known Agenda back for St. Elias Stable, and Todd Pletcher had an impressive allowance victory under Irad Ortiz. Todd Pletcher saying this may put him back on the Derby trail. The Florida Derby could be next.
Yeah, you know, he was just so impressive. And as this horse crossed the wire, everybody's saying, well, this horse is back on the Derby trail to the man was saying that. So I'm sure Todd knows that too. So another horse we'll have a chance to see a little further down the road, as you mentioned, in the Grade 1 Florida Derby.
And 4 Breeders' Cup winners will make their 2021 debuts today. 2 of them right here at Gulfstream and Fire at Will at Vequist. We'll also see Essential Quality in the Southwest and the one and only Monomoy girl back today, too, in the Bayakoa.
Yeah, and the Bayakoa. So as she said, she is just amazing. You know,
Yeah.
there's nothing else to say. She just comes on. So she'll be making her return this afternoon. So if you get a peek, it's going to be hard to do with our races today. But maybe you take a look at this race and see how she did.
Yeah, absolutely. And pretty cool to have all the Breeders' Cup winners coming back today. As we have some news on the wagering front. We hope you're wagering a lot today. There are some great races to take part in. There's a $20 money-back guarantee on first bet for the Fountain of Youth today, Ron.
Yeah, if your horse finishes, for second or third, you still get your money back in the race. So check it out. You can't go wrong. Second and third, that seems to be my game.
Yeah,
so
me
I'm going to
too.
have to check this out.
Yeah, Ron and I will be betting it, that's for sure. So get signed up over on First Bet. Get ready to fire away today as we, again, get ready for the Fountain of Youth. Field of 10 today. Last year's winner, Ete Indienne, for trainer Patrick Biancone. You talk about that speed, Ron. We saw him from post 11 wire the field last year.
Yeah, and everybody was saying, well, post 11, he can't do it. And there you'll see him crossing the finish line, and just a really nice performance. So we have a great field this year, and I'm expecting to see the same amount of fireworks, if not more.
That's right. Not that many fans in the winner's circle this year, unfortunately, but we are looking forward to welcoming back a limited number of spectators this afternoon. So if you're here at the track, come say hi, and good luck to everybody betting today.